Welcome to this Business Spotlight series. I'm Rick Plaskett, a certified business and leadership coach here in Columbus, Ohio. Today I've got with me Josh Fitzwater. He is the owner of and CEO of Holden Ellis. And Holden Ellis is not only has Josh stated, but I went and looked at, man, they are a really cool, creative marketing agency. And I just can't wait for you guys to get to know Josh a little better today. So today we're going to be talking about his business, the challenges, the best practices, and give you guys a little peek behind the curtain about what it's really like to build and operate a business. I mean, Josh has been doing this for quite some time, and I can't wait for us to share some of that stuff. If this is the first time on the channel, make sure that you like it, subscribe, the whole thing so that you can get notifications and be able to come back and see Josh's interview as many times as you would like. So Josh, welcome and thank you for being here today. If you would give us a little bit of a brief background about who you are, what the business is, and what makes it unique.
Sure. Well, first of all, again, Rick, thanks for having me on the show, and I'll say flattery will get you everywhere with me. So I appreciate all the kind words. Yeah, so I own and founded a creative agency called Holden Ellis that's here in Columbus, Ohio. Our mission is to make people curious. That's kind of our tagline, and as we were trying to figure out how do we quantify creative? How do we tell that story? I think we boiled it down to we make people curious, which is at the end of the day is what we do. And so that curiosity, again, we feel like any action from design or a website or a brand or a video or even strategy, I think at the basic layer, it's to make someone curious. And so that's our job. And again, we do that through strategy, we do it through web design, we do it through branding, we do it through messaging, and we do it through video.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Josh. Hey, give
Yeah.
us a little insight. All of those different areas of business. What's your role today?
um, Trying to replace myself. um,
Great
so we're,
answer.
we're yeah, yeah. And it's taken a long time to get there. So 10 years in, just recently. So that's great. It feels, agency years are like dog years. So we're like 70. If I wasn't already bald, I would have, I was destined for this. So yeah, so I think, my role for a long time was assuming all the risk, right? It was being the person who had the vision, who had the drive, who um, took on all the risk to make it happen. And we've certainly iterated over the years. And I think right now, yeah, my big thing is highest point of contribution. And really trying to, when people work here, even though they have roles, right? It's senior designers, creative directors, project managers, whatever. It's still trying to figure out what their highest point of contribution is. And sometimes that's within the role itself, and sometimes it's based on some of the intangibles that people have. And so for me, myself, over 10 years of running this thing, my highest point of contribution has changed year in and year out. And so right now, my highest point of contribution is culture and growth. And so that's really what I'm focused on. And anything that isn't that, I'm trying to replace, find, delegate, and elevate as many people on the team as possible, so that I can be equipped to grow the company to where we want to go.
Super. So listen, audience, I've got to give you a little insight on Josh here. He's trying to play old and saying he's owned the company and it's caused him to go bald, but this guy
Yeah.
right here has already earned a honoree of 40 under 40. So you're still
Yeah.
young,
Well,
young at
yeah,
heart.
yeah.
You're always going to be young at heart.
Well, thank you. Yeah, yeah, and that was a great honor, certainly to get. There's a lot of people that probably haven't got it that are past 40 that deserved it. So very grateful to have gotten that.
So super. Hey, Josh, in all that role and to help with bringing people to be the best that they can be, how many hours, how would you break that down between working on the business and getting things taken care of and, how many hours do you do on strategy and visioning and planning?
Yeah. Yeah. On the business versus in the business. That is the rub. Um, it's better now than it has been. Team, team, team impacts that dramatically. Um, we have a team at the moment that is high functioning, and that allows me to have more time working on the business versus being in it. But again, I said earlier that I'm the risk assumer, so I get my day to day though is pretty chaotic. I have again I'm a avid uh, like these are I'm a to-do list person, right? Like I write them down, I cross it off, but um, things change every day. There's issues, there's problems, there's internal stuff, external stuff. So um, the day to day gets kind of bogged down with some of that stuff. Future state, I think the goal is to again, like a delegate is huge for me right now. Highest point of contribution and delegation, and so it's really empowering people, and it's hard. I'm saying this now in a different position than I was a couple of years ago, where I didn't have, I think, that type of confidence in the team, and also, and again, any CEO, any owner that's any founder really that's listening to this or has um, been a part of your coaching knows that like letting go, the founder letting go is a thing, right? It's their baby. They got it here. They know best, all the things, but they have blind spots too, right? It took a long time for me to figure out what my blind spots are and were and continue to still be. And so um, my day to day, yeah, is focusing on a big accounts, landing new accounts, and making sure the culture is right, that we're living our values, and that the people that we're about to work with, like our clients, that they fit our values too. And that was a big. I know that values is a whole other conversation, but I think one of the biggest sort of aha moments in business for us, um, that really has been a bit of a catalyst is we had values in place and we thought about them on like how we treat ourselves, like hiring internally. It wasn't until we started to apply it to the people that we work with, our clients, that it really became uh, uh, fundamentally just changing our perspective. I can tell you, and again, we probably didn't have values for 5 years, so we've had them for about five. We didn't have them for five. In the 5 years that we've had them, every project that has gone astray, every person that's worked here that's gone astray, we have four values. I can point back to one of them that there was misalignment, and so we hire and fire our staff and our clients based on them. So, which is it's such an immense power, and I think as a founder, that again, that sort of like letting go. But if you've got great values that you really believe in that aren't some overinflated cliche type of value, something that's like true to you and true and is a differentiator, what makes your company different. I think as long as you've got those and you believe in them at the top, you can let go of other things and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Through the years of coaching, I have found that when I can get a business owner to embrace what you just shared and to really take a look at not only their people, but their customers and evaluate your customers, A's, B's, C's, and D's, that your business actually improves when you can invite the C's and the D's to go with your competitor and simply focus on acquiring more A's and B's, the people that you like to work with because they have common values, they have common beliefs, they share a character, and you've built a chemistry where you see the
Mm.
caller ID on the phone and you go, "Yay, I want to talk to this person," instead of, it makes your life so much better, and everything just multiplies off of that. That's fabulous.
Yeah. And I'll say, and I'll give Rick and just like coaching, business leadership coaching in general, a big like digital high five because like we had a couple of years ago, we had a client that we had spent years working with, and to the point where like I considered them like their CMO was like a really close friend. Some things happened, some changes happened. They did us pretty dirty, and and I was beside myself. I mean, I was, and like, business isn't personal. That's bullshit. Like, of course it is. Like that's the most like short-sighted, or like that's the person in power says that. Like, if you're the one who got like on the other side of it, it's certainly personal. But so again, I was just reeling and just at kind of like a loss from like leadership, how to handle that, and just emotionally how to handle that. And I had a coach at the time, um, that said, "Well, hey man, like, had you ever thought about grading this client against your values?" And it was literally a light switch. And we went through the four that we've got, and it was like, no, 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 no. He's like, well, of course. Like, well, what do you expect? Of course this was going to happen. Um, and so that's the value of outside perspective. That's the value, I think, of coaching in general. I was too close to it to be able to see that. And that little insight has changed how we operate. So, like, kudos to you and to your profession.
Well, thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
So here's what I find as a difficulty. Number one is first recognizing that and chasing and understanding and really embracing business to your values instead of business to the next dollar, and that the next
Mm-hmm.
dollar may be more expensive than just receiving that dollar. But more than that is your team. You shared that you have a great team right now. Tell us a little bit about how do you hire and how do you review on a regular basis those values so that you are
Mm-hmm.
absolutely confident that when you're not around, they're doing exactly as you would.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, don't do it like I do it because I'm like, high functioning ADD. So I'm like, I'm all over the place. But yeah, so we have four values. And again, and these are what work for us. Right. And we spent, this was, actually, I would tell you, these came together, I think, waiting, what I would tell new CEOs, new founders, don't feel like you have to jump into your value set immediately. I actually think the fact that we waited a while and the business matured a little bit and we figured out who we were, and this wasn't by design, this was just based on the first couple of years were like, like, do anything you can to keep revenue coming in and to keep this thing going. And then once we kind of stabilized a bit, those types of thoughts, okay, like, well, who are we? What do we stand for? The values that we came up with, we came up with in like 5 minutes. And they're so true. And so but it was because I needed to put pen to paper, but like I had been living them and not articulated them in any kind of way. So I will say, like, if you don't have them, it's okay. But also like don't rush it, or like hire. You can work with like people like us that like do that for a living with people, or people like you. But so we have four values. We have two that guide us as creatives, and we have two that guide us as people, and that's both of those are very important to our business. So the two that guide us as creatives are bold ideas and relentless execution, right? So our mission is to make people curious. So that means that, one, the ideas have to be bold, and bold is a bit of a subjective kind of thing, right? Like what's bold to me might not be bold to you. And so it's understanding that like you got to understand like who your client is and where to push them. But like nothing good happens if you don't differentiate. And so you have to have some sort of bold move, bold ideas. You have to do something different. And so that's where it starts. And then the other value there for creativity is relentless execution. And so the idea is great, right? Like you came up with some sort of strategy on how to differentiate your client in the marketplace. Perfect, wonderful, beautiful. If you're not committed to bringing that idea to life and making it transformational, then it's a miss, right? So we have to be relentlessly committed to the execution part of it. Great ideas fall short with poor execution. And then the other two that guide us as people is universal gratitude and caring more. So our business line is tough because as creatives, one, we're kind of like temperamental to begin with, right? And then two, we put our hearts and souls into like this thing that's supposed to represent all these feelings in your business, and it's a design, it's a whatever. Um, and we're in like an endless feedback loop, right? So like we do this work, we give it to the client, or it comes to me, or it comes to our creative director, and there's just constant feedback. And it's supportive feedback, but it's tough, right? It can wear down a great creative. It can wear down anyone, really, right? Giving feedback is an art form. I'm sometimes not the best at it because I can be pretty direct, um, but so we practice gratitude here in the office so that we can kind of stay thankful, we can stay humble, and those are really big things to me. And then the other one is caring more. And so, um, and this was something. I mean, we've of course, like anytime we lose a job or we win a job, it's like, okay, well, why us, or why not us? And we've won great work, great projects based on the fact that the client said, like at the end of the day, everything was kind of equal, but it just felt like you cared more, like it meant more to you. And it does. And we make sure that the client feels that all the time, and that we care more for each other too. Like if someone's off or there's a problem going on personally, professionally, we're lockstep trying to do whatever we can to support each other. And so those four together, I think, are what make really great employees. Now, I can tell you, I've done a bad job sometimes at hiring for that, though, right? Like you've got your HR hat on when you're interviewing people, and people are trying to be their best versions of themselves too, right? So like people aren't always truthful, or they're not showing really who they are. And so I've got it wrong. I've got it wrong as much as I've gotten it right. But we correct it quickly. And that's been a thing too. Is just like for the longest time we would hold on to people who were poor performers or didn't fit with our value system, and it just was a grind of life sucking for everybody. And we're quick now. We're super quick. And we handle it fast, and it's okay. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. It's not always about values and poor performing. It's just sometimes it's like just a fit. Like it's just you're not a good fit, or we're not
Yeah.
a good fit for you, right? It's sometimes it's us. It's not them. It's us. Um, so that's how we hire. And then like quarterly. So every quarter though, we get back together. And again, this is like a very simplified way that we do it. We have there's quarterly goals everybody has, right? We've got like our big annual goals quarterly, right? Like every 90 days, we're trying to come up with goals that ladder up to that. And so like that's one side of it. It's like, how are we doing on our goals? But then the other side too is, and we call it like a frequency chart. Like what's your Holden Ellis frequency? Like, how are you, like, like vibing with what we're doing? And so we have people, rate themselves, and we rate them too, and we come together to talk about any type of discrepancy. But it's a plus minus, and a minus in our values, right? So it's super easy. um but again, like because we've got two about creative and we've got two about like how you are as a person, if you are off and there's a check minus or, a minus, like we're able to kind of like talk about that and address that immediately. And it's not always doom and gloom. It's like, oh yeah, I'm in a funk. It's like, okay, well, let's, how do we get past that? Like, let's talk about it. So
I love it. As you were mentioning that, all and I can't even remember the book that it came from, but we talked about the vibrations. And when the entire team is on the same vibrations, everything is amplified and it is just fun
yeah,
and fast. When someone is out of that, it's canceling the energy of the entire
yeah.
team. And it's just slow and drudgery. I love it. I love it. So, hey, let's shoot forward, fast forward right now and look at what's to come next. Where do you see your business in the next 3 to 5 years?
Oh man. Yeah, I've tried to do those exercises a couple times. It's like a great thought exercise, but like it also kind of feels like an act of futility. But 1 to 3 years, I think we kind of can. I don't know. It's just, I mean, geez, like the market, you never know what's happening, what's coming around. But our goal, between this year and next year, we're trying to 2x our revenue, and so that is a big goal for us. It's one that, like, when we were doing our annual planning just a week ago, gave me, like an eye twitch because, it's the 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 spend internally, the infrastructure in place for us to grow, was considerably a lot more than we've been spending. So that was kind of like nerve wracking. But we our main vertical is healthcare, and so what's the next year to 3 years look like for us? It's widening our um, our experience and our client base within healthcare. We're working with everybody right now from big global companies like McKesson, a Fortune. Well, I don't know what they are. They used to be like a Fortune 7 company. I think they're like Fortune 12 or 14 right now. So like big, right?
Mhm.
268 billion. Um, all the way down to like local health systems, right? In GPOs, and so we're storytellers at heart, and we think like healthcare is the ultimate story. Um, it's life, it's death, it's loss, it's hope. It has everything. It has drama, um, and it's also, I think, a market that is starved for differentiation. Right? Someone once upon a time, it's the same blue that's in your background. They're like, blue needs to be healthcare. It's like, well, I don't know, does it? I don't know. And then we have to have orange, or it's got to be green, and like now we have to have gradients, like, or whatever. And I think for a long time too, they just felt like um, there is this whole kind of thing happening with just like power with the consumer in healthcare. It's been the consumers had a lot of power for a long time. I think
Mhm.
for a long time in healthcare, they were like, people are going to get sick and they're going to come to us regardless. And now there's options. People have options, which is amazing. That's what makes commerce go and capitalism move, but it also breeds iteration and like keeps companies honest. And so there's choices now. And so now it's not about the healthcare service you provide, it's about the experience. And that's where we really play, right? And so like the experience on the website matters, the experience in your office matters, the experience on your mobile app matters, the content matters. And so it's an industry that's really ripe, I think, with now there's big disruption happening there, yes, certainly, but it's like just getting started. And so we're going to keep going with that. And our goal is to be a national player there. Even though we've got national companies, we just keep our heads down. We're not very like raw. We're not tooting our own horn. Right? We're very humble.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and so part of our growth, even for next year, is to be, I mean, still be humble, but like a little bit more braggy, which is I have a hard time doing, to be honest. Um, yeah, it's doubling our revenue. It's growing in healthcare, but it's also taking on other jobs that kind of like fill our bucket too. right?
Mhm.
I use this analogy both with clients and with like people here that like, and again, I'm a dad, so this is how I equate it. But like with if you ever have had like that sort of like Kraft macaroni and cheese microwavable kind, right? Like you take the lid off and there's like a fill line. Like if you want your macaroni and cheese to be really good, fill it to here, and so I feel like we have like people we have our own fill lines too, like as creatives and clients as well. And so it's about keeping things at that fill line. And so for us, it's taking on other projects that like keep our buckets full, and same with clients. So like if there are disturbances in the forest, which happens all the time, um, it's making sure what do we have to do or what conversations need to take place to get that fill line back up to the client to keep them happy. So
Yeah. It's interesting as you were sharing your approach and your struggle to go out 3 to 5 years. Um,
yeah,
two things
yeah,
came to
I
my
need help.
mind.
Yeah, you tell me. Yeah, help me plan
Well,
plan that 5 years. Yeah.
so it goes back to before coaching, before my corporate time, all the way back to the military. And the concept was we started every battle plan with the mission was to win the war.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we didn't plan where we wanted to be in 5 years, Mother Nature, laws of physics, customers, marketplace were going to be determining that for us, and we were going to be reacting versus were we going to be in control. So yes, do they change?
Yeah.
Absolutely, but we know what we want. The other
Right.
side of that is when you were talking about, being a pattern disruptor, taking a look and trying to break things. I can remember several years back, I had a medical practice. I had a vascular surgeon office,
Mm-hmm.
private, um, and going through this drill of where did we want to be, who were our types of clients, and that type of stuff. One day he took me for a walk around his entire office and he said, "You've inspired me." And we spent the entire coaching session. He took down all of the TVs in his waiting room. He said, no, just because everybody else has that, he recognized that all of his patients came from referrals from other doctors. If he didn't have the ability to see those people quickly, why was he taking them? He said, no,
Mm-hmm.
we're not having anybody stay in our waiting room more than 10 minutes. And that became his vision for the next 5 years. I don't care how we get there, but no one sits in the waiting room more than 5 minutes. We do not need a TV to entertain them. And you know what? It took a couple of years, but we 5X'd his practice. And it
Yeah,
was
that's
based
amazing.
on a little understanding of, hey, we don't have to be like everybody else. We can break it, we can disrupt it, and we're serving our own values. So again, when you look at the 3 to 5 year, that is more of I want to be in charge instead of being reactive. And when you are looking at keeping true to your 4 values there, you know, how and where are we being sucked dry by the vampires of today's society? And how do we look at, how much of that is really bleeding out and how much can go forward with the way we want it to be? And again, thank you, Josh, for sharing that. That was fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's a little bit of a challenge of, in combat, we all spent hours and went so deep into combat battle orders and plans. And we all knew that the minute the first bullet flew, all of that went out the window.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the process of planning towards that future that allowed everybody to act individually, even when chaos erupted. So again,
Yeah.
I think you're doing some fabulous things here. It's really exciting. Audience, I hope that you've been listening. We have certainly covered a lot of ground today in our conversation. And for those of you that are watching, I highly encourage you to save this one with Josh. Come back a few times, watch it again, because there's lots of nuggets there. So listen, as we wrap up, I like to get into a section I call rapid fire questions. These are ones where I simply want,
Oh
Josh,
boy.
what's top of your mind? Yeah, you ready? buckle up because it's going to get to be fun.
Yeah.
No, seriously, top of your mind, just real quick, kind of a fun thing to wrap it up.
Mhm.
So Josh, what would you say your key to success is?
Uh, I think that man, I'm not giving a very rapid fire answer, am I? Um, the the key to success is building a great team. You can't do it all yourself, and I think every founder thinks that they can because it got them to some sort of point. Um, but I think the key to success is a team, but not just a team for the sake of team. It's got to be the right team, and you have to be almost ruthlessly committed to keeping it the right team.
Awesome, super. So let's take it and build on that a little bit. What one piece of advice would you give to another business owner?
Um, Differentiate yourself as fast as possible. Like understand, like you can't be. We don't want to do marketing for everybody. We could, should, or well, not we should. We could um, find your vertical, find your niche, um, because you need to differentiate. You need to have expertise in some sort of like, like it's creative and marketing and advertising, but like for who? Can't just be for everybody. Because if it's that wide, you're just going to kind of spin. You're going to swirl. We got real traction with the business when we like honed in on our verticals. So I'd say, like if it's a restaurant, if it's law, if it's whatever, marketing, it's find your vertical as fast as possible, and also like change it too. Like find it, and if 2 years you don't like that anymore, or you want to evolve, then just like change it. It's fine. You're in charge.
Awesome, awesome. So this one's kind of a old school when I say what one book are you reading now, but what one
Oh,
book, what TED Talk, what article,
oh
it doesn't
yeah.
have to be a book, but what do you've had a positive response here, so I know you're
Yeah.
looking at
Oh,
something that's juicing you.
well, I'm old school. I mean, again, I was talking about being old, but yeah, I'm like only newly after 40. But I'm a business bookaholic. It's a problem. Um, and but I like if I read it, I have to have it. So like it's also like I need the book, the actual like book. And right now I'm reading the 5 a.m. Club, um, which is a great book. I wish I could remember who it is, the author of it. Um, but it's about getting a better, like it's for like CEOs and business people, but it's about getting a better like morning routine to sort of maximize your day. It's written actually really well. It's written more from like a nonfiction perspective versus, or no, fiction versus like nonfiction. But before that, I read Think Again from Adam Grant, which was a great book, that sort of like challenges your like first impression on things. Um, so yeah, those would be the two. I've got actually my daughter calls it staircase of books, but my nightstand has this like it's not dwindling; it keeps growing. The other one that's on my queue too is the um, meditations from is it who like Marcus Aurelius or it's about like Stoic philosophy, Stoic thinking. Is it Marcus Aurelius? I don't know. Or is that Gladiator? I can't. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like it's something like that.
Okay.
I haven't read that, but that's been one that it's been recommended a bunch of times. On just um,
Super.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, Josh, if you had only one area of your business to choose that you could immediately improve, and tomorrow morning it would be significantly better, not even an issue anymore, what would that one area be?
I mean, one area, it's easy to say revenue because that makes such a difference, but it's also I can tell you like in a lot of people probably listening to this too, like mo money, mo problems. It gets
Yeah.
money is great and more money is great, but the more money that you're bringing in, things do get kind of a lot more complicated, like just globally more complicated. So it's not that. That's not really the fix. I think like systematizing everything, right? We're trying to build to scale. Um, and we over the past year and continuing into this year, it's really been about creating like SOPs for everything races. We're big on that right now too, with even just like with clients, like what's your rate? Like this is how we operate. Like where on your
Mhm.
side, what is the racy for you? Like so we know like who matters and kind of who doesn't. But yeah, I think systems are what are going to allow any business to grow. Especially when you're dealing with like ideas and design and stuff, like that's very subjective. Art, we're artists essentially, and so systems are going to be what allow us to design faster, to not miss any important details, and to just like be able to bring more people in and bigger clients and grow and scale.
I would invite you, don't limit systems. Systems is your way to success, period. All of those other
Yeah,
pieces are simply parts of the success, but success does not come without having some sort of system. So, so listen, before we get to the final question here, Josh, if the audience wants to get in touch with you, what is your preferred way of them reaching out to you?
yeah. Well, we have a website, as hopefully most people do on planet Earth these days. But yeah, so we have there's a form on the website that goes straight to me. If it is if it's about advertising, um, that's a great way. HoldenEllis.com, HoldenEllis. But yeah, my email is Josh at Holden Ellis. And yeah, if you've got a question, if there's something that I said that kind of sparked any type of thought or fire or like I don't, you're full of shit. Like just reach out to me. So yeah, and we're on Instagram too, Holden Ellis with like an underscore. You can find us there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. So listen, here's the last question for today. Josh, what most inspires you today?
Um, what's inspiring to me, there's a lot. And I know these are rapid fire, but I'm not giving you rapid answers. I've been in a very like reflective mode because last month in October we celebrated our 10 years. So I've been like a bit more pensive, I think, and more reflective than maybe I normally am. Um, and to me, what's really exciting is that we are 10 years in and we have had success, but in a lot of ways it feels like we're honestly like just getting started. And so I'm super encouraged by um yeah, like what lies in front of us. And um you know I don't know, I'm a normal founder, like with all the pluses and minuses that come with it. I have like endless passion and energy for this, like at nauseum. So like I wake up and my wife hates me because I'm trying to wake up at 5 a.m. now, but like I wake up and I'm like, let's go, and she's like, don't talk to me until I've had coffee. So but yeah, just the future. I think it's super exciting. We're like every day we're getting better and better. And we're committed to that. And to me, that is it keeps me going.
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, Josh, thanks so much for joining us today and sharing your journey. And thank you to the audience as well for watching. We're here to inspire. We're here to give you some insights as to what people have found successful in their business journey. And listen, come back and see these again with new people or just come back and listen to Josh. I know I took a whole page of notes today and I had a whole page from the last time I talked to Josh getting ready for today. So folks, have a super day and bye for now.